Hi, my dear lovely students. How are you? My name is Juhi Narula, and this session is going to be really an interesting one where we are going to talk about reading comprehension. Reading comprehension is one area which is included in every possible test that you are planning to give, be it GRE, GMAT, CMAT, be it SAT, be it SSC, be it PO, be it any competitive exam. You cannot have a verbal ability section without having reading comprehension questions in it. And in fact, reading comprehension questions are like an open book test. So you have the passage in front of you and you have to answer the questions, right? But still, students find this extremely difficult. Why? Because our approach is incorrect. So in this video, we are going to talk about that what should be done rightly so that you become comfortable with reading comprehension questions and you can get them all correct in your exam. Please see that you might get stuck if you do not know the meaning of the word, right? So you can't answer a vocabulary based question. Similarly, if you're not aware of any grammar rule, you'll find it tricky to solve the question. But with reading comprehension, never this sort of a problem will come because passage is always there in front of you and the information is coming only from the passage. So if you're going to think like this, you would never want to lose any point as far as this particular section is concerned. So let's find out what should be done right in order to ace reading comprehension questions. See, first is of course reading. You cannot get better to solve the comprehension questions until and unless you have got good reading skills. So some students do ask us that, ma'am, what should be read? So practically you can read anything and everything under the planet. It can be magazines, it can be journals, it can be newspapers, it can be blogs, it can be, fictions, it can be non-fiction, autobiography, biography, whatever your heart says. But if you are having very little time, or if you have a focused preparation and you have to give the exam within 6 months, then my suggestion would be that solve as many passages as possible, because in that case you are reading a lot. Yes, and you are solving questions. So, in a way, you are strategizing, right? You are doing elimination, so you know how to deal with the answer choices, and then you can handle time, right? So if you have got good time in your hand, then you start with something that you find easy to read. Maybe fictions, because then you would be interested in storyline and you would be having a longer attention span. If you're a little mature reader and you have read fictions in your junior classes, then my suggestion would be that you move towards non-fiction portions. Why non-fiction? Because usually the passages that you get are from non-fiction part. This is an exception, of course, is an SAT where you get one passage which is from literature. But again, if you are reading non-fiction, you would not find much of the problem in dealing with any fiction part, right? And while you're dealing with non-fiction portions, then you can start with some easy self-help books and gradually raise the bar. Do not actually start reading very difficult stuff right in the beginning. See, when we climb stairs, we climb from first, second, third, fourth, and then gradually we reach to the 10th. If you're going to hop directly on fifth, you will tumble down and you'll fall, and that we wouldn't want, right? So, at times when students start reading something which is very difficult in language, something which is very technical, very complex, or of a read or of an author who uses difficult words, like if you read something based written by Shashi Tharoor, you'll find it difficult to absorb, right? It's a style of writing, right? Or Salman Rushdie for that matter. But if you'll go for some easy Indian writers, you will find it easy to absorb the information. So we have to be very smart, right? We have to gradually raise the bar for ourselves. If we do something which is not in the gradual order, then that builds pressure, that that actually underplays, that helps, that at times it is harmful. It impacts our confidence levels also, and that we wouldn't want. So my suggestion would be gradually pick up the book so that you are in a comfortable position. See, first, nobody is going to teach you the table of 15, right? First, you learn the table of 2 and then you reach the table of 15. So, please keep this in mind that reading is a gradual process and gradually you should, raise the difficulty level of the books. This is going to make the process interesting, and fulfilling, and effective, right? So this is one important suggestion. Also, when at times students do ask us that, ma'am, if we're reading newspapers, which newspaper to read? So I would suggest that if you're a beginner, you can start with Hindustan Times, and if you are a mature reader, then you can move towards the Hindu. Don't start with the Hindu right in the beginning, and as much as possible, do read the editorial pages. So reading editorials is like, having a platter. You get a bit of every type, so you get good exposure, right? Second, vocabulary building is important, right? So you cannot become better with reading comprehension if your vocabulary is not improving. Reading in a way will definitely contribute. It is going to enhance your vocabulary. There is no second thought about it. There's no doubt about it. So this goes hand in hand. If you read well, if you read good, then your vocabulary is going to improve. And if you're going having a good vocabulary, then you're going to enjoy the process of reading, right? So if you do not know the meaning of the words, then these words would be alien for you, right? As you can see in the picture, you wouldn't be able to understand what the author is trying to convey. And picking up dictionary or looking for the meaning of words for every next sentence is actually troublesome. That makes things difficult for us to absorb. So it is very, very important that we give due attention to enhance our vocabulary. There are various interesting ways to improve vocabulary. Learn roots, that's a very logical way. Make flashcards, or make create mnemonics for yourself, or group the words. Maybe happy words, you can make a category of the words that are synonyms to happiness, or make a list of words that are synonyms to sadness, or any category. Wartime words, peacetime words, right? Adjectives that show beauty, right? Adjectives that show intelligence or good speaking skills, right? So you can group the words as per your suitability, as per your understanding, but try to have as many approaches as possible for vocabulary building. At times when we are dependent on only one approach, then our learning has limitations, and that we wouldn't want. So absorb as many approaches as possible. This is definitely going to give you an edge in the exam, and you're going to see remarkable improvements, right? Further, see, when we are reading, please understand, reading comprehension has got two words in it, and unfortunately, we just focus on one word, right? I'll just write it. Please notice it for a while and let me know, do I make sense to you or not? Right? There are two parts to it. It's never reading based questions. Like reading comprehension. Comprehension is understanding. However, when we read only just to finish reading, right? We never try to make a lot of effort to comprehend the data. And until and unless we are able to comprehend the data, we would not be able to answer the questions which are based on the overall understanding of the text. So somebody asks you, what is the primary purpose of the passage? That means why the author has written the entire passage. And you have just read superficially, you don't know what's happening in the passage, or you would want to re-look at the entire passage again to answer the question. It's such a mess, right? In fact, you must just give it a thought that reading the entire passage all over again in the examination hall is a sin, a crime that you cannot commit, right? So you have to be very wise in understanding the content, what is offered in the passage. You need to understand that why the author is writing the entire passage. What is his objective? What is the main idea? What is he talking about? How is he writing? Is he positive? Is he negative? Is he writing in a satirical form, or is he anguished? Is he in a state of sorrow? What is his thought process? What is the tone of discussion? How is the passage progressing? Or is he giving a general idea and then he's presenting a point, and then he's giving examples to elaborate his perspective? All these little details are necessary, right? If you are just blindly reading it, then it would be difficult, right? So please ensure that you give adequate attention to comprehend the information. Like in CAT, you get summary based questions. So you'll get a small paragraph and you would be asked to pick the summary for the paragraph. So that can only be done when you've understood what happened in the passage, right? So as a habit, I would always suggest that whenever you're reading a passage, try to, answer these questions anywhere. It's especially, I mean, it can only be applicable most of the times to non-fiction reading. So whenever you're reading any article in the newspaper, especially the editorial portions, see why he has written it. Try to, reason out with your own self, what is he talking about, right? There are two different things, why and what. Then how is he talking about? If possible, write a small summary, maybe in 1 or 2 lines, write the gist. And if you have a group, right, so at times some of us believe in, studying in a group, which is a good thing, right? There is no harm, at times competitive exams you get multiple perspectives if you are studying in a group. Depends, if you study alone then also it's fine, there is no harm. But what you can do is you can decide that okay, we are going to read this article and we are going to do a lot of research on it, and we are going to comprehend it, and then we are going to keep a group discussion, right? These days it is so easy, you can just do a Zoom call or a Google Meet and exchange your ideas. So if you're going to do a lot of discussion, you would be more interested in the topic, and you're going to see that the effectiveness of comprehending the information reaches absolutely to new heights. So always focus not just on reading but comprehending also. Somebody might give you a perspective that you never thought of, right? Or somebody might present the summary in such a crisp fashion that you'll understand that that particular answer or discussion point is doing absolute justice. So this sort of momentum will come when you will do reading with thought, right? Don't just do something for the sake of doing it. We see students, they will read, and then when we'll ask what is the discussion all about, they would not be able to answer. Then what's the point, right? Or if you have this habit, I'm sure many of you have already appeared for some mocks, or are planning to appear or seen at least the questions, and it happens to most of us for the time that we would read the information, and then when it comes to questions we would be blank and we would want to refer to the passage again. It is fine. I never say to my students that you can be a superman or a superwoman, that you can grasp all the information in one go. That's not practically possible also. We should go back to the passage for specific questions where we are retrieving the information, because retrieving the entire data is very difficult. But this doesn't mean that you should not know what is the passage all about, what is the discussion that's happening, how is the passage progressing, how are the ideas developing, right? So this is very important that you set your goals right. If you are not clear with the goals, if you are not clear with this intent that after practicing for 20 days should be in a situation where I should be able to answer all the general questions without referring back to the paragraph, I should not be able to you know lose my focus, and also for specific questions I should know where to go back. You cannot wander. Do you have that particular time when there is so much of competition and people are so strongly prepared? You can't actually play with your careers when you are having such thoughts. So you should be absolutely clear, dedicated, alert while we are preparing for ourselves. Three goals always. While we are reading, there should be three goals. Cannot lose focus. Second, for general questions, I mean, which are based on the overall understanding of the text. For such questions, I should know where to go back. And third, for general questions, I should be able to answer without going back. And for specific questions, I should know where to go back. Right? So let's further proceed and see what is the next thing. Now, see, our goal while we are dealing with a passage is to get the answer right, right? So, now we have to be clear that what helps us reach to the right answer. One important thing that students miss or do not care at all is that they don't pay adequate attention to the question. Now, question acts as a bridge between the paragraph and the answer choices, right? So, if your bridge is not intact, or if there is no bridge, how would you reach to the right answer? So, please keep this in mind that our aim is to get the answers right. So, in order to get to the answer, you need to have thorough understanding and great understanding of the question. We have seen students who would spend a lot of time in dealing with the passage. They will read it 2 times, 3 times, 5 times. They would juggle with the options, बी होना चाहिए, नहीं नहीं सी, फिर ए भी तो हो सकता है, देयर वुड बी अ लॉट ऑफ brainstorming going on while we are exploring the options. But when it comes to questions, everybody forgets about it. Right. So if you are not clear with what the question is asking, how would you reach to the right answer? So please get this right, that our approach has to be very logical. We should know what our aim is. Our aim is to reach to the right answer. So reaching to the right answer, we should keep our understanding of the question perfect, and also we should believe in eliminations. I strongly suggest that, you know, uh, say for instance there is a class going on, and I give you a passage and I say, let me know what is the main idea of discussion. If I have 10 students in my class, I can have 10 different answers. Yes, bottom line would be the same, but the way the answer is presented would be different, right? So we cannot always be convinced that our answer choice is going to be the same, but we can always be sure that why the other three are wrong. So you should be sure that C, A, B, D cannot be the answers, and hence I'm going to go with C. So you should be pretty convinced why the other choices are incorrect, and whatever remains shall serve as the right answer. We call this as a process of elimination. That means keep on eliminating the incorrect answer choices. Whatever remains shall serve as the right answer. So keep your goals intact. Your idea should be absolutely clear that my answer should be correct, right? You are not doing a PhD or a thesis on the passage there. Even students do not even remember the topics of the passages once they step out of the examination hall. You can try whenever you give the next mock, remember how much of information you're able to retain. Not much, right? So it's very, very important that our goal should be clear and we should be driven towards it. Further, let's see what are the issues students encounter. So, the first one is habit of reading generally, just stringing words together without really joining the pieces. That means we are not making an effort to understand the overall picture. We are not able to understand the thought process of the author. We are not able to understand how the discussion is proceeding. We are not able to gather that, what is the objective of writing. If we are just superficially reading, like I previously explained, just reading the words, then of course we would not be able to absorb the entire information, and that's really really troublesome. So please keep this in mind, that our effort should be to comprehend the information rather than just go for a general reading. General reading we would do when we do not have any exam coming, right? Maybe I can read a magazine, right, just for the sake of reading it. You read a fashion magazine, or you read a travel magazine, or you are in an exotic location for the holidays, and you're just sipping a cup of coffee in the morning, and then you see this brochure of the hotel or the homestay, and you're enjoying reading it, turning the pages. That is leisure reading. We can't do leisure reading in the while we are preparing for the exam. So highly driven, objective oriented reading is the need of the hour. And wherever you are making notes for the session, please do keep this in mind. Right. So, passive reading is again where there is no analysis, reading without questioning. In fact, I'll give you a very interesting task to do. So, whenever you read any paragraph, I did tell you that while you're reading newspapers, you should do a lot of discussion. There's another thing that you can do. Be on the other side of the table. That means think that if you are given this passage and you are asked to make the questions based on the passage, what sort of questions can you make, right? And do this drill for 5 to 10 passages, and you will be absolutely thorough with the idea that what should be taken care of while we are reading, right? You can create some questions asking the meaning of the word, and when you do that, you will start recognizing in the actual papers that what is the word which has got high possibility for which the meaning can be asked, right? Similarly, you can do what is, you can identify, make a question that is going to ask that to identify the tone of the discussion. So you would know that how's the idea flowing. Oh, he's being sarcastic. Oh, he's being optimistic, right? Maybe you read a book by Abdul Kalam Saab, the tone is optimistic, right? Or if you come late in the class and I ask, why are you late in the class? I hope all is good. The tone is positive. You come late in the class and I say, why are you always late? I don't at all like this. Next time I'm not going to allow you to enter the class. The tone is negative. Maybe you come late in the class and I say, oh, you're so early. What is the reason? The tone is sarcastic, right? So you will be able to get into the rhythm. Initially, it might sound troublesome, but if you're doing it, with an intent to create questions, then you'll be able to have a different mindset, right? Don't be while you're reading the passages or while you're doing initial practice, try to attempt the passage in such a way that while you are reading, keep on thinking that what are the questions that I can get, what are the questions I can prepare, right? If I have to give this passage to someone else to solve, so what will be the questions? You will reach at one point of time where 70% of your questions will match with the actual questions, and that's where you will really enjoy solving reading comprehensions. So that's what we call active reading, being engaged with the passage, embracing the passage, knowing what's happening, right? Giving an eye to the detail. So please do this analysis. And like I previously explained, what, why, how, please try to keep these answers in your mind once you are done reading. And also, like I said, please do create a summary. That really helps with summary based questions, right? So let's further see what is the next thing. um, so at times, what do we do is we just want to finish the passage, right? We complete the passage somehow, right? But if we are not thinking in between to ponder over what we have read, again, that's a troublesome thing to do, right? We must keep on thinking that, what is the intent? Why the author is writing this? What is the meaning of this word? What is the objective of giving this example? The author has mentioned some other author. Why is he doing it? Right? If somebody mentions other authors, there can be two intents. Either he's agreeing with the idea, right? That is the reason he's talking about him or her. Or the other thing can be that he strongly disagrees or has got a different opinion. That is the reason he is talking about other author, right? So please keep this in mind that if other author is being talked about, what can be the reason, right? If this example is given, this excerpt is given, this this situation is given, this year is mentioned, so why is he doing it? What is the intent, right? So our intent should be absolutely clear. We should read putting adequate thought process. Now, it is very, very important to interconnect, right? You should know how the ideas are organized. In fact, while we teach students how to write essays, we put a lot of emphasis on this point of organization, right? So here your understanding of, transition words would play a very important role. Now, this is a new term. If it is new to you, transition means changes. So there are words in the passage that are going to help you understand how the discussion is proceeding. There can be positive transition words. So I'll make a list for few words. Words like furthermore. So when you see furthermore, you know that the author is taking the discussion ahead. Or if I say in addition to, right? So this is another word. Or if I say moreover, right? Or if I say firstly, secondly, lastly, or when we see these words like thus, hence, as a result, therefore, consequently. So we know that the author is trying to reach to a conclusion, right? Or if you get words like yet, but, in spite, despite, nevertheless, nonetheless, right? You know that the author is taking the discussion in opposite direction. So these are clues offered by the author for you, right? By the person who has created questions, that please boss utilize these clues, right? You are going to find, a lot of clarity in dealing with the passage if you are making a deliberate effort to notice these words. You know these words, right? So had it been an extra effort required where you would, spend a lot of time in, learning these words, the things would have been different. But all the words that I've written on the screen, they are all familiar to you. So please utilize this clue and see how the ideas are getting connected, how the discussion is being built. We have read two paragraphs. Oh, the first paragraph talked about war, and second talked about the repercussions. That's it. Don't remember the repercussions, because if the question comes what were the repercussions, you can still go to the second paragraph. But you should know that first paragraph gave the details of the war and second talked about the repercussions, right? So at least you know what's going on. You're able to create a thread of ideas floating in the paragraph, right? Now, there's this very interesting cycle. This is a trap. This is a Sisyphean cycle. So, what is a Sisyphean cycle? That you are reading the same sentence over and over again. It happens so many times. It happens that you start reading, you feel that you did not get it, and then you start reading it all over again, right? And you read it 3 4 times, and by the time you've already wasted 5 minutes, and forget about time, that's gone, that cannot be sorted. But you are feeling so underconfident at that point of time that it impacts your question solving, right? Any aptitude exam is heavily dependent on your confidence levels that day, right? Your clarity of thoughts, your approach, right? So it's knowing the concepts, plus you should know the skills to appear for the exam, which is something something students entirely forget. So your test taking strategies are equally important. Now you're struggling unnecessarily for 5 7 minutes, you could not solve the question, you could have solved some other questions in that point of time, and then you are caught in a trap. You are just moving round and round without making progress. So this is something, if you have this habit, please decide that while you are starting from this sentence, right? So you are starting from this sentence and you are reaching till here. Please take 1 minute while you're practicing, but then just don't go back. Just don't go back, right? If you would want, you can do some scratch paperwork. You can pen down that what is the idea in a nutshell, right? Don't get into detailed note making. Of course, you don't have that much of liberty of time, but just avoid reading the entire sentence over and over again. This is actually a big mistake students do, and that really impacts your performance in a negative way, right? Further, some other mistakes that we make, some of the students would come and say, ma'am, what if we just read the opening paragraph and the last paragraph? You are planning to give exams like GMAT, CAT, any exam for that matter, SSC, PO, any exam, and you know the competition level, and seriously you feel that this trick is going to work. This trick even doesn't work if we are giving 12th grade school exams, right? Forget about competitive exams. You are dreaming to enter top notch colleges, you are wanting to get into high profile government jobs, and you are thinking that such, childish strategy is going to work. It doesn't work. It doesn't at all work. Please don't fret about it. This is, of no use, right? Now, reading too fast. Just finish reading. Then I will take a look at the questions and reread the entire thing again. Is it some game that's going on that you're reading for n number of times? That's definitely not a solution. In fact, I again reinstating my point that I've previously made. Reading the entire passage all over again in the exam is a sin, it's a mistake, it's a crime, and we cannot afford. So you have to understand this. And what happens is that students would not put much of the thought process while they're preparing. And in the exam, your confidence level is low or you have not developed the right approach. So you're going to read it multiple times and then you are going to get into trouble. So while you are preparing, in fact, from this day, whenever you read, if you are a beginner, that's fine. Take a lot of time to complete the entire paragraph, right? Read one sentence, read it slowly, but ensure that you're grasping the information, right? Just don't read it for the sake of reading it and finish with the job so that we are done and dusted with it and we can move forward. No, this is something which should not be done, right? Or some people would just, skimming is just, not paying attention to the little details. And not saying that you have to retain every little detail the passage is offering, but you should know what's happening, right? So if you're too impatient to finish the reading passage, like I said, that's a perfect way to the wrong answer, right? So that's the common mistake students do, and then there's a common problem that we are not getting the answers right. So please be very, very careful. Now we know the problems. Last half an hour, we've been just talking about, problems and problems. This is the problem, that is the problem. Now, what is the remedy? So let's talk about some solutions, right? So read carefully, right? So while you're reading, again, I'm reinstating, keep three goals in mind, not to lose focus. So if you lose focus, you can immediately start doing scratch paper work. Do mapping. So what is mapping? You quickly make some rough notes for the discussion. So for every line, write one word that you feel is most important. In that case, your mind will not have that empty time to get distracted, right? Some students do tell us that, ma'am, in the middle of while we are reading something, we start thinking of Alia Bhatt. Alia Bhatt is just an example. I mean, the point is that you get distracted, you get deviated. So you can just write it. Now, you do a lot of scratch paper work when it comes to quant or your DI or LR sections, and you must have seen that your accuracy level is amazing. But in verbal, everything you want to do in the brains, right? It's not feasible. Something that you're doing for the first time, reading for the first time in your life, it's a high possibility that the text that you're going to read would be something which is entirely new to you, right? And you are retaining it everything in your brains. Isn't it too much of a task? So just write one keyword, one important word, or two words that you feel, would give the a sense of discussion. It's just to keep you more involved. And after finishing 10 lines, you will have those 10 words that will help you connect the dots, that will help you connect the ideas together, right? So map. And keep this in mind that whatever general questions are there, be it a main idea question, be it a primary purpose question, be it give a suitable heading to the discussion, be it a tone question, how's the author writing, or be it a structure questions, how the ideas are organized, you should be able to answer all these questions without referring back. And when it comes to specific questions like, what does the author mean by this particular word, or why the author has mentioned this term in second line of the third paragraph, all these questions, specific questions, we will go back, but we should know where to go back, right? So whatever you're scratching down, that should be very detailed. Soon I'm going to tell you also how to do a scratch paper work, that we are going to make a separate video for the same. But intelligently doing reading would be of great help. And pencil and paper, always keep this, right? Scribble and ensure that you do scratch paper work. No invigilator will ever stop you to, when you demand papers for verbal. It has never happened, and neither they limit that for verbal you'll get only one paper, for quant you're going to get 10. It never happens, right? So take this advantage. Scratch papers are given with an idea behind it, right? So utilize the papers and comprehend, absorb the information. You should know what is happening in and out in the entire passage, right? So open up your minds, right? And active reading, get involved in the discussion. Don't skim, just get into the details there and then, so that you are able to get into the rhythm of discussion. Like I said, observe transition words, make connections, make chains. So see how intra-paragraph discussion is happening and how inter-paragraph connections are there. And when you are doing it, please ensure that you observe transition words, right? So if you are going to see, there you will be able to find cause and effect relationships. You are going to see that, pros and cons being discussed about, right? You're going to see that, the author is giving talking about a problem, and then there's a solution. Maybe you see that the entire passage talks about what is the problem. Now, what is the cause of that particular problem, what are the problems, what are the issues raised, and what would be the effective solution. Such sort of clarity is also, you can gather if you're reading intelligently. right? Maybe the passage talks about a change. There is an old way of doing a thing, then something happened, there's a trigger, and then there's a new way of doing this thing. Now, if a change has happened, what are the advantages and disadvantages to it? And if the various changes that are happening, you'll see across those changes on the timeline. So do observe transition words so that you have better clarity and you are well versed with what's happening in the discussion. Breaking the Sisyphean cycle, right? So break the loop of repeating sentences, stop rereading, right? So you must have seen this image, right? So this person keeps on pushing this round stone upward on the mountain, and it comes back rolling downwards again, does that. And this is what we call Sisyphean cycle. It's basically a Greek mythology's portion. So you need to see that we need to get out of it effectively, strategically, intelligently, and by being very confident, right? Also focus, pay attention, concentrate your energies, right? Don't get deviated. I see students, while they are practicing in the class, or while they are attending sessions on Zoom, they would just put their cameras off, put their mics off, and would just be in some other planet. Please don't do that. Don't do that. You, whom are you fooling? You are your own self, right? And that is something which we wouldn't want. So you have a limited time, right? Everybody, you are not having 48 hours in a day, right? So you need to channelize your energy properly. Instead of wasting like 20 minutes to do Instagram, it would be advisable to solve two passages, or maybe read one article, or maybe just read one passage, but investigate how the discussion is happening. Like when we talk about questions, like you can put your energy to read the question intelligently, see that what is the task word. That means which question, which word in the question is indicating what you're supposed to do. How do you know that you're supposed to identify the primary purpose? There's some word that's telling you, right? What is the subject of discussion? Or maybe what is the question type? Like, if I just give you one simple example, the passage is primarily concerned with. See, that much of focus is required. That's what I'm trying to teach here. Suppose you get this question now, students who really do well, they understand that, okay, primarily concerned. My observation, my focus is so sharp that this is telling me to identify the primary purpose of discussion, right? So primarily concerned remains to be the task words, the words that are helping me understand what am I supposed to do. The question is based on the entire passage, so this is the subject of the question. And what is the question type? It is primary purpose. Are you getting into that much of detail while you're noticing the question? No, right? Most of us are never even trying to do that. Or for that matter, most of us even don't know that this has to be done, right? So if you are not aware, or if you are not pushing yourself in the right direction, then how would you reach to the right answer? So focus is important. Focus on every question, focus on every option. You should understand what are the grounds on which you can eliminate an answer choice. Oh, it's an extreme answer. It's presenting a claim which is stronger than the claim made by the author. It has to be incorrect. Oh, this information was nowhere mentioned in the text. At times it happens that three-fourth of the answer choice is incorrect, but is correct, but one-fourth, at the end there is some word that makes the entire choice go wrong. Are we paying attention to that particular word? Are we having that eye for detail? Because if somebody is taking me for a reputed position, or in the college, or in the government job, then of course I need to have that skill set. I need to have that knack for detail. I should be able to read in between the lines. My focus should be clear. Now there are some students who would say, oh मैम ये तो दिखा ही नहीं, तो आपकी focus की problem थी, right? आपने ध्यान ही नहीं दिया, इसलिए नहीं दिखा. अगर आप ध्यान दोगे, अगर आप एक deliberate effort करोगे, तो दिखेगा. So this is something that you need to keep in mind, that focus not only in reading the passage thoroughly, understanding the question, but also in eliminating the answer choices, keeping a focus that will I be able to distribute my time properly? Will I be able to give adequate time to other questions also? Am I giving too much time here, right? So all these things are to be taken care into account if you are planning a good score, if you're wanting to crack the paper, right? So let's see type of comprehension questions. Main idea question. So main idea is, what is the central idea? What is the author talking about? क्या बात कर रहा है, right? So this is something that you need to understand. What is the central idea, reason behind writing the passage? What is the discussion all about, right? So this sort of question is very frequently seen, and you will get the words like central idea, primarily concerned, right? In the author has written the passage in order to main function. So such words you can get that will prompt you that the question talks about main idea. Tone. So what is the attitude? So you get the words attitude, opinion, tone. These are few words. Try to put the tones either as positive or negative ones, right? So jubilant is happy, excited, lamenting, so it's positive. This is negative. Outraged is again a negative one. Odd would be positive. Ambivalent is, ambi is dual, so when you are undecided, right? So either the tone can be positive, negative, or at times the author is just not wanting to take any side. It's a neutral discussion. Say somebody talks about a philosophy or a research, just telling you that what are the outcomes of research without saying whether the research is extremely well done, or either criticizing that there were a lot of loopholes, just explaining, right? So that can also be the tone of discussion. Now specific questions like a treasure hunt, right? So we call them retrieval questions. We can also call them fetch questions. You're fetching. Do you understand? You're picking up the details. Some people might also call it information and idea questions. So, see, such easy questions. You might get words like according to the author, or according to the passage, which of the following is true. So, the author has given the information, or there is the information present in the passage. What you need to do is just get that information and utilize it to answer the question rightly, right? Such a simple thing to do, but still we see students really mess up. So please be very careful that you don't make such mistakes and you are to the point while we are dealing with such questions. Specific fact questions means retrieving the information that's already presented. One thing that you can note it down, usually the answers are paraphrased. So paraphrased means they are presented in a different language from the text, right? So they would not pick as it is the language of the text and give you an option. The language will always be slightly varying, the same idea presented and packed in different words given as an answer choice, right? So please be careful while we are dealing with retrieval questions. Students get trapped by the language of the text. Usually that's an incorrect answer. The correct answer's language is different from the language of the text most of the times, right? Implied questions. So what do we mean by implied questions? We also call them implicit questions, which are usually not directly to be extracted but are hidden. Maybe inference, what is the conclusion that the author is drawing from the second paragraph, right? Or it can be a purpose question. Purpose can be a primary purpose, right, which is why the author has written the entire passage, or specific purpose. If given some information, some example, talked about some author, why is he doing it? So it's not something which will directly pop out like a retrieval question, but it is hidden. You have to read in between the lines to reach to the correct answer. Now, when we come to the third part as to be how do we deal with the answer choices, there are few suggestions that you need to keep in mind. Be sure. Oh, just like that feels right. You should not go by feeling, right? You should be sure about the answer. And like I said, be sure that see these three cannot be the correct answers. And then whatever remains shall serve as the final answer, right? Because a lot of twists and turns and lot of, unnecessary trap created. So at times you might be able to, might be not able to convince yourself that C is, I don't find C to be a very great answer, but then that's fine if you're sure if that A, B, D can be eliminated. So sincerely I'm requesting you that believe in this approach, that keep on eliminating the incorrect answer choices. Whatever remains shall serve as the right answer. Extreme. So you cannot have a correct answer which is stronger than the claim made by the author. So let me just write it for you. Stronger than the claim made by the author. And I will elaborate this point. Who's the boss of the argument? Who has written the passage? The author. So who has the most control on it? The author. Answer choices or questions anybody can create. I can create, you can create, my friend can create, your friend can create, right? So, and anybody and everybody can twist the information as he or she would want. But there cannot be any claim which is stronger than the claim made by the author. Like the author says that there's a possibility of this event to happen, and the answer choice says that this event is certainly going to happen, right? This cannot be the case. So whenever you encounter the words, of course, three, you can see only, just, absolutely, add more words. All, always, none, must, never. Always be suspicious about such answer choices. Note it down wherever you are making notes. This is going to be one important advice that's going to work in a great way for you. So I'll quickly give you a minute. Just note down these words wherever you are making notes, that always be suspicious about extreme answer choices. It means that there cannot be any answer choice which is stronger than the claim made by the author. Great. So let's further see. Eliminate answer choices like slash the trash. So again, like I was trying to say that, elimination works the best. So what can be the grounds? So first is that seems absurd, of course, which is not in sync with the information offered in the text. That takes an extreme standpoint, like we previously discussed. At times, what can happen is that the information is true. So maybe, while in your college, you did research on some project and you found that information as it is in the answer choice. But if it is not from the text, it cannot be the correct answer. So we say that reading comprehension is strictly evidence based reading. And please see, I'm writing in capitals. Evidence based reading. That means the answer will come from the text and from nowhere else, right? So, the information is true, but if it is not in the passage, no matter how sure you are, no matter how accurate the information is, please do not mark it as the final answer if it is not there in the text, right? Please especially take care of this point. At times we get too enthusiastic, we get too driven, right? That cannot work as the correct answer, right? Also, when it comes to the right answers, please understand there are hardly any situations where there is a mistake done by the paper setter, right? So, um, there is a rarest of the rare possibility that there are two correct answers, right? There will always be one unique answer until and unless there is a specific direction asking you to pick two, right? So, there would be some answer choices that would look pretentiously. That means they'll pretend to look right. So maybe, like I previously mentioned, three-fourth of the entire sentence would look correct, but there would be just one word or phrase that will make the entire choice go wrong. Right. So there is something that you need to take care of, that while we are picking the correct answer, please check each and every word, right? Please ensure that you are, never taking, a quick, rush call while you are picking it. It might just take 10 to 20 additional seconds, but just saving 10 to 20 of those seconds would, damage your chances to do well in the reading comprehension section, or you may get the entire question go wrong. See, you've invested 1 minute and you're wanting to save 10 seconds. Those 10 seconds are going to cost you your entire 1 minute. So please ensure that you check each and every word while you pick up the right answer. Right? So Now you know the questions, you know the problems, you know how do we deal with the passage, you know that what type of questions are there, you know some grounds of elimination. So what should be done? So of course improvement is something that we are going to aim for, right? Start reading online. This is very very important, right? So while we do the reading, it should be strictly online as much as possible, because most of the competitive exams have become online, right? So there are students who would be very much at ease when it comes to a paper book, but when it comes to reading online they find it difficult. It was also one of my problem that I never enjoyed reading online, right? Yes, and that's that's a thing. We can't do anything about it, but we need to train our minds. You students would find it very easy when they're doing it in the books. That this is a common feedback that we receive. In fact, some of you must have also encountered it. That when we solve in the books, we get the answers right because we can mark and we can underline. But when it comes to solving it on the screens, it is troublesome. Yes, it would be. So you have to prepare yourself, you have to make yourself accustomed to such a thing, right? So as much as possible, start reading online. Start reading from vocabulary. Make a diary with the meanings, revise them every day, make sentences, right? Pay attention to the subtitles of the movies. So these are little things that will make a lot of impact in your improvement process, and this has to be done. Start writing summaries, right? So that will help you understand the essence of write up. So this is in a nutshell, we are trying to conclude that what we have learned so far. Aggressive reading, so you have to focus on speed and efficiency, well both, right? Initially on efficiency and later on speed, but yes, you need to keep your end goal in mind, right? You just cannot enjoy. There are students who would say, ma'am, you give us 20 minutes, we'll do the entire passage right, and they do it right also, but you will not have that liberty, right? So you see that first passage I solved, when I did it without any pressure, it took 18 minutes. Next time, set a timer for 17 minutes, then bring it to 15 minutes, then to, you know, maybe 14 minutes, and then to 12 minutes, and then you would be able to reach to 7 8 minutes. Like I said, it's a gradual thing that's going to happen. Now while you're practicing, you're not keeping any take of time, you're taking 10 minutes, 12 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes, and when you're giving a mock test, the time drastically reduces to 5 minutes or 4 minutes. So of course the impact will come on your accuracy. You can't undermine that particular fact. So you need to keep this in mind, that if your time is going to reduce, your accuracy is going to be getting impacted. So this is how we need to absorb the content or absorb the process in such a way that we become acquainted to this particular fact, that the time would be less and we gradually improve our time, right? Increase your speed. So what time students read, but one word at a time. So when you will become a little mature, and this will happen when you will read a lot. People who are quick, they read so 4 or 5 words in a single glance, right? There are people who would just say that, I just finished this book in 2 hours. It did not even take me 1.5 hours to finish this. Why? Because they are not reading each and every word, and people who are beginners, they do so, but you have to reach to that particular stage where we are able to have a good word per minute count, right? So number of words that you assess per minute, that's your WPM count. So you can have a great WPM only if you'll read a lot, right? And like I said, you use scratch paper work, keep a pencil intact while you are reading. If you're reading online, use a scratch paper work, and if you're reading it on the paper, you can keep on marking it. That really helps you improve your confidence and clarity. Embrace the passage, make a plunge, get into it. Just stop floating around and finding excuses not to do it. Just don't give this excuse that I come from a Hindi medium background. Don't give this excuse that I'm working 9 to 7, I'm not getting time, right? Don't give me excuse that you have your college internals going on. These are all the excuses that you can easily, if you have a strong willpower, you can overcome, right? And you have to do it for your own sake, for your own future, for your own career, for your own beautiful life. Next is develop fluency in reading, right? Read without bumps. If you're finding difficulty in reading a long sentence, then break the sentence in small into small sentences, but don't get intimidated. The moment a very long sentence stops disturbing you, that would be a real game changer for us, right? So don't get threatened, don't get intimidated. And of course, there cannot be any other advice, better than this, that practice as much as you can, wherever you can, as many passages as you can. Start with easy, gradually raise the bar, solve a lot of PYQs, previous year questions, and time, so that you are able to see phenomenal improvement happening. Right. So I hope you found the session useful. Please implement the suggestions made. These suggestions are after years and years of experience and after training so many students. So you'll be able to see a great improvement in your reading comprehension scores. So please do take good care of yourself. Do help us spread the word, and you can visit the website to watch more tutorials. All the best. Bye bye.